There is so much controversy these days about financial shit, obviously, because that's what everything revolves around. And I saw a thread yesterday, and I see this argument all the time, and I'm sure I'll see it again, that poor people don't deserve to have children, and that it's justified, and that sometimes I even see the argument that it's the poor person's fault. And as someone that is guaranteed to be poor for the rest of their life because they're not special or flashy or worthwhile being an influencer enough, um, as someone told me last night, I can't express about how completely and fucking inhuman that whole headspace is. I do agree that factually, people who don't have the means shouldn't have kids, but you also have to see it from a humane standpoint. Nobody ever acknowledges what the poor person is supposed to do for the rest of their life, because I am a person, a living, breathing person with flesh and bone sitting in front of here, and it was my dream to be a mother and to have kids. And it's never going to happen for me. And if anybody knew what it felt like to be in my headspace every single day, the severe depression, disassociation, lack of energy, lack of faith, hope, enjoyment in anything, and even worse, the comparison to people that I used to look up to that are now moms that I've had to unfollow and block because it drives me mentally insane seeing these special people get enough money for being special so that they can live out a decent life, a decent, meaningful life. It is intolerable. And the only reason why I'm here is for my parents, but I just find it, I can't express how much how much this breaks down somebody who wants to have a family. Having a family is not like the same thing as like buying a fucking car or buying like I don't know, like some sort of vacant comfort. Without a family, life is nothing except for being a faceless cog, looking at abusive stuff from anonymous people like all of you with these conversations online, being compared to special people that can afford those things, and mental issues. And there is not a single person on this earth that I know that would ever be able to live that life for very long without eventually breaking down. And I broke down years ago. And maybe it doesn't come across because I tend to be a very put together, like straightforward, very blunt person. Like I tend to not, I do when I'm alone, but especially when I'm recording myself, I tend to not just sit around and, cry. I mean, I'm going to get to that point, but I'm very straightforward about like what I'm feeling and thinking, and I'm very cutthroat about what I'm thinking. But do not be fooled that being told that I will never be able to afford a family and that nobody ever goes into that argument about like what the fuck we're supposed to do for the rest of our life, because I can't consume influencers that are better than me who did get to become moms because they could get the money, because it's crushing. And I've had extremely detrimental, horrible mental headspaces. I'm going through one right now because in the comments it's always telling people that they deserve it more than anyone and they deserve this wonderful, amazing life. And then in my opinion, for me, that's just getting spit in the face like, oh, you don't deserve to have a family and you don't deserve to replace the love that mom and dad gave you by having your own family because you're not special or good enough. Because America, or any country in general, should not be wired in such a way that the only people that get to have family are special people. That's not a country. That is an incel, an overgrown incel, a horny, overgrown incel that is only rewarding shiny people and not every single person, which, if this country was not turning into a gradual dystopian nightmare, would be everyone. And I really, really, really cannot do this anymore, and I haven't been able to do this for years. I don't give a fuck what anyone says anywhere, and I'm aware that nobody cares about me and nobody cares about anything that I have to say. I don't post these videos and rants because I think that people care. I do it for my own fucking sanity, because if you knew what it felt like to be me with no future, no life, no community, no family, no friends, you would know. You would understand like the severe Black psychosis. There are some times when I can't even remember my own name because that's how completely and utterly like unindividualistic and communityless and love deprived society is as an adult for the average unspecial person. And I'm going to tell you right now that there is nothing to do or anything to believe in if you can't have the remarkable human need and what should be a human right to be able to have a family. It is a spiritual human need and right, and I don't know what the fuck planet someone else is living on that they think that family isn't everything, but in case you haven't noticed, like, the excuse that, like, well, you'll get older and you'll take care, you can just enjoy the family you're born into, that family is dying off. My grandparents are dead. My parents are dying. And this society, or at least maybe I'm just a loser, but at least for me, like, I can't find anybody that wants to be friends just for the sake of it. It's all about dating. But I can't date because I don't want to be with someone and then just have us both work full time, breaking our backs and our minds and our spirits every day just to come home to an empty house, barely have energy for each other, and not be able to afford kids in a family. I'm not asking to be a fucking pop star. I'm just asking for what I think should be spiritual basic rights. I'm so sick of poor people, like, just being put into this nameless stereotype, like, poor people don't deserve this and poor people shouldn't do this, because it's talking about poor people like they're just like a statistic, and we're not a statistic. I am a living, breathing human being, just like that influencer that has everything that you tell her that she's special enough to have kids and the house and the life. And just because I didn't make an ass of myself on the internet for 20 years, now suddenly I don't deserve anything. Or just because, like, the extremely unlikely scenario that you make it as an actor or something, I don't deserve to live life as a dignified human being. Good luck to most of you for following this philosophy that you have, that, like, if you can't afford a family, don't have one, because at that point you're just looking at a life of nothing but really, really soul-crushing work with coworkers that do not care about you, and, I don't know, posting shit online that nobody cares about, like me. Maybe if you're lucky, if you're especially creative, you make art, but I promise you it's not enough to fill the void, and you will burn out, and you will be staring at complete, empty, suffocating meaninglessness. I think about, I mean, I cry when I'm not recording myself, and I don't care what anyone has to say about it. It is my right to, at the very least, have that. Generally speaking, it seems like most people these days are just like, well, nobody owes you anything. You have to work really hard. And it's absolute sociopathic, elitist bullshit. The argument that started my psychotic breakdown yesterday, that started this whole thread of thought, was someone saying that it's the elitist. It's pro rich people to say that poor people shouldn't have children, and almost every single person disagreed in the thread and sent me into a psychotic breakdown, because I'm looking at a lifetime of having to accept that I will never have kids or a family, and I've tried every cope in the book, and it doesn't change the fact that at the end of the day, my life is my life, and that reality is reality. And almost every single person agreed in the thread and said, yeah, it's true. Like, you know, don't have kids if you're poor. Don't have kids if you're poor. And nobody actually went further into, like, how completely unjustified that is for poor people, because it's not someone's fault that they were born into an economy that, for whatever reason, bloats only like 10% of people like pigs into more than they can keep up with, and everyone else is just treated like inhuman cogs and scum and trash. And I just fucking wish, if nothing else, for while I'm waiting out my own lifeline to burn out, which is miserable and a long, long fucking wait. But I do wish that people would, at the very least, would stop attacking and targeting poor people that just want to live as dignified, average, regular human beings with a decently meaningful life, and would talk more about the system. And I know that people do, but I see just as many people coming at poor people and saying that they're pathetic for self-pitying themselves and that it's their fault and that they need to work harder and nobody owes them anything. But you don't realize there is no possible way, working the average job in the pay, that anybody will ever be able to afford to even take care of themselves at this point, much less to have a meaningful life. And I don't think anybody thinks in detail realistically about how long and how crushing these hours actually are, and that nothing gives it meaning and none of it matters, because you're just going home to sit in 4 empty walls and do a bunch of hobbies that probably more than likely everybody either makes fun of or nobody cares about. And to invalidate that lifestyle and that despair of those people is just absolutely repulsive and worthless and disgusting. And that seems to be the average consensus. My mind is leaving. My sanity is gradually declining. I'm doing the best that I can to at least somewhat make sense of it, of everything in general, and trying to tell myself, well, I could live for this, I could work on this project, I could do this, I could nitpick at this. But I am incredibly emotionally intelligent and also sympathetic and compassionate and aware of what matters when it comes to being human. And everywhere that you look, once you reach this dead end, unspecial person time in your life, and once you've been placed into your placement in society, the thing is that even if you do have the unlikeliness of finding your own peace, it doesn't really matter, because there is, everywhere that you look, there is movies that make fun at people, at jabbing at them for being mediocre. There is people that make fun of a childless woman everywhere all the time. There is movies that is about mothers with their children. Like I said, influencers have their kids. Like, it's kind of this feeling that like life is still going on and happening, but because you're one of the few people that is poor, or a lot of people, it's kind of funny that poor people are the ones that make up the majority of society, and yet we're the ones that are with the smallest voices, and that it's the influencers and the 20% that feel like the loudest. But I'm not special enough to have a platform. I'm just not. I don't have the personality. I don't have the flashy showy life. I don't do massive like production music videos and shit. I would like to, but I don't have the means. And I didn't realize growing up that being not special, because I knew since I was a kid that I wasn't special. Like, I could just feel it. Like, I just knew that I was not special. And growing up, that ended up being very true. But I did not realize that not being special meant that my life was going to be a literal constant day-to-day hell until I died. Doing things I don't want to do, being a slave, but all that would be bearable if it was like in my parents' time, where I at the very least got to go home, have my kids, take them to school, you know, had a husband. And I'm not going to get any of that. I'm going to be probably at 40 being homeless from severe depression, from how meaningless it all is. And I know hundreds upon hundreds of thousands of people on niche apps that feel the same way, who have no voice, nowhere to go, nowhere to turn, because the world does not like to look in the raw ugliness of what it has done to the vast majority of people. And we know it, which is the reason why we don't rant about it or post about it, because it's embarrassing to put our pain in the face of the public, only to realize, you know, obviously that no one cares, or to be invalidated. But I have nothing to lose at this point. And I've already lost my mind. And like I said, everywhere that I turn, it is used against me that I'm not special. And I feel like my whole life has been a lie, because I grew up thinking that I was so interesting and creative and complex. And let me tell you, after 15 years of being on social media, I realized that I am nothing, and nobody thinks I'm interesting. Nobody will ever care about me. And that I was okay with that. I mean, yeah, it's a little depressing, but I have my life, you know. What I didn't realize is that when people don't care about you, and when you're not special, and when you work dead-end jobs and get paid minimum wage, that you are going to have your basic, in my opinion, human rights taken away, and that I will not have a family, and that I'm just going to be working and looking at trashy junk online from anonymous people, or from people better than me, like influencers, living their life and having their kids and sitting in their beautiful house and having a great, meaningful life. And at best, trash people like me, all we get to do is consume and to just daydream about it. I didn't realize that. And at the very least, I want to rant about it. And honestly, I'm kind of grateful that nobody cares, because it's overwhelming for people to care when life is this wrecked. But it's not worth it. It's not worth a worthwhile fight to fight. And I'm only doing this for the rest of the family that I have left, the family I was born with. But I feel completely worthless, because I do not have the means to accomplish things on my own, because I just can't. I can't get out of the dead end job cycle. I just can't. And the only other option is to die or to starve to death. And it literally just is what it is. And I just want to have a voice as a poor person that seems to just be a statistic in arguments on the internet, because nobody ever sees things from the poorer person's perspective, who are living, breathing people that are, like I said, the same living, breathing people as much as those influencers that you tell them that they deserve everything and that nobody deserves it more than them, and all that stuff. I'm molded differently. You know, I like to spend my time writing and painting and daydreaming and thinking. I don't have the personality that would give me, apparently, a life. I've come to realize that society is not just as much as it is like a competition love game. Like, you have to mold yourself in a certain way so that people care about you, so that they give you money. And if you can't be that person, or if you're someone that likes to keep to themselves more often, or if you just don't have a very conventional personality, you're fucked. I've never felt so faceless and so nameless in my life, and I have tried everything. The very few videos that I've made that have blown up, it's been full of people patronizing me, saying like, boo-hoo, if you don't like your life, then change it. And you don't realize that there is literally nothing that poor people can do to get out of their poverty. There's nothing that anybody can do. I went to college, by the way. I graduated. I was decently smart. I did what I was supposed to do. And I have no life. I am meaningless, absolute life. Nothing but a nameless, faceless cog with schizophrenia and psychosis. And if you don't believe me, sorry, I don't tend to record every single fucking time that I'm losing my shit or having a meltdown, because that would be exhausting. But that's what it is. And I'm trying so hard to, at the very least, appreciate and to enjoy my own company. But America is literally nothing at any age, nothing but a rat race. Even if you don't want to be a part of the rat race, even if you're just looking for like a sense of community online, everybody just talks about celebrities and sometimes influencers. And when they do, they tend to talk about how much better they are than people, and about how they shine better than people, and how they have all this money, and like how well off they are and how entertaining they are. And even if I didn't want to have kids, and even if I didn't have this life-ending dream of wanting to have a family, it was very, very grating and exhausting anyway. But I can't log off of social media because there is no way to have real life community or socialization as an adult. There's nothing but work and going home to your 4 vacant walls. And if you deny any of this, then please feel free to let me know about what society that you're living in where this isn't the case, because I would love to see a society where everything that I'm saying is a lie. And I would love to be a part of a society where there is community and there is ways to meet people. And I'm not talking about trashy dating apps. And I would love to be a part of a society where there's still a chance for a social life and to feel like a fucking human being after school and college. I have been friends with some very, very terrible niche people that I met online, who have told me and have laid it all out for me about all the reasons why my life is a lie and why there's nothing that I can do from here. And it's all true down to the absolute brim. So, you know, I used to be really precious about like my identity and about myself in general, like really protective and private, until I realized that nobody gives a shit either way. So I may as well just post when I feel like posting and express myself, because I'm trash anyway. I'm going nowhere in life anyway, and I have nothing anyway. So I may as well, because at the very least, if nobody else is going to be there for you, you should at the very least be there for yourself. I'm a little bit awkward talking about my problems because I have been very, very internalized my whole life. I've been told that I don't matter my whole life, and I've been told to basically shut up my whole life in every way. But the loneliness and the isolation is getting to the point where I can no longer think or remember who I am or feel like a human being. I don't think that posting on the internet changes that, but at the very least, speaking in front of a camera helps a little bit. So, frankly, TDLR, as they say, I don't care that nobody cares. And I shouldn't even be here anymore on this earth. I realized years ago that my life was over. And it's true every single day. So just to give a little bit of a face to those poor people that nobody cares about, that you are all very clear in saying that nobody cares about,